Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Dale Keown Day, so that is why we're looking at the latest issue in his Incredible Hulk run, at least the latest issue I have in my collection, namely issue 371, cover dated July 1990. Starting with the cover, basically your run-of-the-mill late 80s, I guess early 90s at this point, Marvel House style cover. Dale Keown here still not pushing any kind of crazy limits in his artwork. I could believe that, Namor and Doctor Strange here were pretty much drawn by any kind of run-of-the-mill 80s artist at Marvel, and not Dale Keown. The only thing that's kind of cluing me into Dale Keown is this Hulk figure in the back that definitely has some of his more, I guess, rounder, cartoonier aspects to it, right? Not a bad cover, but just, run-of-the-mill, typical 80s kind of thing. And we're going to talk about that even more so when we open up the book, talking about the storytelling and all that. So let's crack it open, have a look inside. So this is what I'm talking about here. The level of storytelling that I see on these pages, I'll go quick, right? Just show you kind of the progression and stuff. You still have the Marvel splash page, page turn, element of surprise, right? Continuing the storyline from last issue where I guess this dark version of the Hulk has escaped from the dimension that they were in last issue. So let's go through the credits since we're there. Right, written by Peter David, pencils by Dale Keown, inks by Bob McLeod, who, as I mentioned before, I think lends that air of Marvel House style to Dale Keown's artwork. Even though here we're getting a pretty dynamic figure, the inking itself is more kind of that 80s Marvel House style, and the layouts and things like that, and the storytelling. So you're still kind of feeling, if I go back to this, the establishing shots and, all of this, a lot of mid shots. The influence of Jim Shooter, even though he's not there at this point, some of his storytelling rules and ethics and protocols that he put out there are still kind of being used, right, or probably pushed by the editors in around this time. And eventually these artists, including Dale Keown, the Tom McFarlanes, the Rob Liefeld, probably most of you out there, they'll go on to kind of, push for what they want to do, start inking their own work at Marvel, and basically just kind of building up the basic chops they would need for when they passed over and created Image Comics. So what we're really looking at with all these artists is the progression from their Marvel debuts, Marvel DC debuts, up until their Image stuff. Because that's kind of where I started collecting. These issues here I did not originally collect. I've bought them since because they're Dale Keown artwork and I really like his art. And now they allow me to do these reviews as well. But I didn't originally read this at the time. I started reading Hulk right around issues 384, 385, which we'll talk about, I guess, when we get to it. Where the artwork does start to kind of take on much more image-like properties, we'll say. I'll put it that way when we get to it. So we're still kind of, again, my point being that we're stuck kind of in shooter land here. And again, young artist working for the big company finally, and, obviously not wanting to ruffle feathers at first, and kind of pulling that McFarlane trick later on of incorporating the more extreme elements of the art. In Dale Keown's case, some stuff that I think did see in Dragon Ring that, definitely to me could go straight to Pit as far as like the detail and the dynamism and stuff, that gets a little bit pulled back here. Not in a shot like this, obviously, but just more in just the finish of the artwork and the layouts and the storytelling. So here are our guest stars, Namor and Doctor Strange, I guess bitching about this and retelling the story of what happened last issue. I've kind of already talked about it, so we'll move on. All these silhouettes and the look of the Dark Hulk, right, being mostly silhouette, obviously is, a pretty obvious idea, but I think Dale Keown pulls it off really well. Almost always inhabited in shadow, kind of like almost like a constant Mike Mignola figure. A lot of it here, right, as well. And if I'm not mistaken, this is basically they're inside his head. So this is just another version, actually, of the Hulk, or he's been taken over by being from another dimension. It's either or. I'm not quite sure. Not important to me. Again, I'm mostly here for the artwork, at least for these issues. So not much to say there. I'm pretty sure this is Bruce Banner and they're arguing, right? This is kind of the arc where Peter David introduces this idea of multiple Hulks and eventually merge them all into one. So that's kind of like the beginning of what's happening here, I guess. A lot of it, like I said, just doesn't look like Dale Keown. Ends up looking like just your average late 80s Marvel kind of stuff, right? But there are little moments where I feel like he shines through here. I just find the inking doesn't do help him out any. It does him a disservice, you know. Here's, I think, where, you know, a little part where the inker succeeded in kind of catching that Dale Keown feel here. Oh yeah, this was interesting. This trope of the cop, you know, the speed limit, and of course some kind of, you know, crazy looking vehicle speeding by. Is that a trope that was like, are they ripping off, what's that movie's name? Last of the Starfighters, you know, or did Last of the Starfighters start that, or did that rip off something else? I'm sure someone's had the idea before that. You know, a lot of these tropes that we see are just people recycling obviously the same idea. That's why they become tropes. But I'm wondering where kind of in the lineage of that this appears. I mean, I'm not shocked that comic book writers would take inspiration from movies. I'm sure comic book artists do as well. Jack Kirby, who I love, takes massive inspiration from movies of his time, obviously. You can see that in a lot of his work. So I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, it really reminded me of Last Starfighter. Good cartooning, though, on the face here. Reactions and stuff. You know, this to me feels kind of John Byrne-ish, but, you know, this not so much. And I like the progression. And this is, you know, Dale Keown fully formed, slightly cartoony. Good facial expressions he does generally, right? More examples, different expressions. But yeah, I just feel, I don't know, like, I can't imagine this was what the pencils looked like. There's something in the inking that I just really don't enjoy over Dale Keown here. Like, it seems to work on the faces and stuff, but I don't know about the shadows here. I just, every time, yeah, it's not the figure per se that bothers me, but the way the black areas are being handled and the hatching out of those areas. Namor looks cool. That's a great shot there. So Washington Square is where they're supposed to be. Not quite sure where that is. Maybe any people out there watching can illuminate me. So of course you got your Marvel fight. I wanted to mention, I remember going through it earlier, some of the sound effects. Bacow. That's kind of odd to me. And there'll be odder ones along the way that I'm going to mention. I'm okay with bonk. And again, I was talking about the Jim Shooter storytelling. A lot of medium shots, a lot of actual storytelling, which is fine, right? Maybe a bit of a flourish here, which I love this panel. It's pretty good. Very, very good. Could we have found a way of not having this line at the bottom here? I find that line odd. You know, maybe you just take it out here, here, and here, and just keep it for the structure. You know, I don't know what a solution there would be, but that just feels kind of odd to me, the way it's done here. And maybe Dale Keown didn't even do that himself. Maybe it was some production after. I'm just guessing here. So this Dark Hulk depiction here is getting a little bit better. Inking still doesn't help it much, but the overall idea is cool. Okay, so here's where some of the sound effects start to get weird. First of all, I like this bit of storytelling here. I think all of this is super well done. The build up, pachoom pachoom, I can accept that. You know, he's firing something. Rack of lamb? Oh, saying that out loud, I just realized. I guess it's a joke. Rack of lamb. If you don't get it, I mean, I can't help you. I just figured it out, so, you know, I'm not saying I'm a genius or anything. So yeah, more of this mid-shot kind of Jim Shooter type storytelling. Probably, again, what the editors were used to and what they were asking for. Very John Byrne-ish kind of Namor here. See, up close it works. I guess you get more detail in the penciling and the inkers being a little more faithful, possibly. Like, just, this looks cool. This doesn't. Good Keown face, right? That looks like Dale Keown. But yeah, he's not being stingy on the panels in any way. Again, I guess to prove yourself in around that period, late 80s, early 90s, working for Marvel, this is the kind of stuff you had to do, right? The John Byrne-ish kind of storytelling, panel layouts, which, again, probably rely themselves on a lot of Jack Kirby tropes, but filtered through different artistic kind of visions, we'll say. So we're getting some more, you know, Doctor Strange dimensional kind of adventures here in the head, I believe, of the Hulk. I'm not quite sure if they're actually in another dimension or just in his head. That I'm pretty sure is Bruce Banner arguing with him. But yeah, like no real, other than that first splash page, which was actually the second page, no real big flourishes, right? Again, just very mid-level gym shooter type storytelling. Like the difference with some of the Hulk faces here and then this one here. This one to me is Dale KEOWN. Slightly different, slightly cleaner inking, but you know, I don't like it here. Just kind of can't wait till he starts inking himself, and I'm pretty sure he does on some of those later issues of the Hulk. At least I'm hoping. I do know that there's another inker who comes on later. I think Mark Farmer, if I'm not completely out of my tree here, but I'm pretty sure that's who it is. And then you'll start to see kind of a resemblance between Alan Davis and Dale KEOWN. Funny enough, they have complementary styles, I guess, and that's why the inking works on both from Mark Farmer. But yeah, just again, a very run-of-the-mill late 80s, early 90s Marvel comic. Nothing too exciting. No huge hints of what Dale KEOWN is going to become on stuff like Pitt from this, which I find funny with these early issues because Dragon Ring shows much more of that, much more of the elements that we'll see in Pitt. So, you know, definitely have to say that's the Marvel way. The editors pushing him to draw a certain way, be inked by someone else to break him in and into that house style, I guess. That's the way they did things back then. Daredevil's mother? I don't know. I'm just kidding around. I don't know for sure. And there you have it. So that was my quick look at the Incredible Hulk, issue 371. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions or interesting anecdotes, I've read a few of the comments recently and just learned some stuff that I didn't know about. So, and if I'm wrong on stuff, I'm definitely open to being corrected. If you know the right answer, let me know in the comments. So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you have not done so. That really helps us out. And I hope everyone out there has a great day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.